Let's draw cartoons. Now ensure that you watch all of today's video. Why? Well, like I always do, I've dropped a few tips in that are generally just good to know when it comes to drawing. So if you do skip, you'll miss out. Hit that thumbs up and the subscribe button as it really helps the channel grow, and hit the bell so you never miss a tutorial. Let's get started. Alright, so when it comes to drawing this guy, obviously we want to start with the head and give him a bit of a jawline there. You see that how it angles down at the chin there into kind of like a point. And by the way, if at any point of this video you feel like I'm going too quickly, you can always pause it or rewind it or slow it down, play it back at any speed you want. I'm just used to drawing at a certain speed, so if I go too fast for you, I apologise, but you have full control of the video, so rewind as much as you need to catch it. Just kind of etching in the basic shapes now, just getting that jawline right. I'm going to quickly draw in the shape of the chest here and get those shoulders fairly far out, because he is quite a lithe character, but he's still got pretty big shoulders because, you know, this guy's hench, man. This guy's like, he's going to mess you up. I like to draw in a couple of circles for the shoulders, just because shoulders are, if you really break them down into their basic shapes, circular. And then you can just kind of build all the shapes off it. As you draw the abdomen here, just make sure you give it like a little bit of a bump. Do you see that? Like one bump for the chest there, one bump for the kind of like side of the muscle. And curve it back up towards the upper arm there as well. I'm just going to bring that arm down there, just going to leave that hand as it is for now. And then this hand, this is a bit awkward here, you need to draw a little thumb like that pointing outwards. We're going to draw a gun into that in just a moment, but I'm just going to tickle off this belt here. It's just going to start off as a simple loop, give it a bit of a curve around the waist so it actually looks like it's curving around his body. And that circle in the middle, that's going to be his emblem. Quickly just draw in the crotch here so we know where the legs actually separate. So just returning to the face, we may as well actually start adding in some features now. So with the eyes, they don't have any pupils or anything, they're just kind of white eyes. So you can just draw those in. A little bit of a nose about 3/4 of the way down the face. And then we'll just draw in the kind of black patches over his eye. The things that are very distinguishing for Deadpool. It didn't really look like Deadpool until we started to draw these in. And we're not quite done with the mask yet, we need to just kind of add in these little seams at the top. Notice how much of a difference that makes? They're almost like tiny little horns. Remember that awful Daredevil movie with the tiny horns? I mean, he's still got it in his normal design. Just kind of fixing off the neck here. There's kind of a small crease of clothing around the neck. And now let's finish off the muscle definition for the torso. So for the chest, diagonal lines feeding off towards the arms, just drawing in a bit of the black patch here. There's like a little shuriken shape just kind of sitting on that. Okay, and then he's got like a... I don't really know what the actual official name of this would be. I guess it would just be a strap, right? Yeah, it's just a strap. I don't know why I even thought about that. We got like a strap just there. Don't go too far around the torso though, because we need to draw this arm first. And if you give it a little bit of like an outward-inward action like that, you'll immediately get like a nice muscular look to it. So just keep doing that as you go down the arm. The bicep goes in and out, or rather out and then in. It goes in where the forearm meets the bicep, and then it carries on a bit further down into this hand. Now with this hand, just be careful and follow the steps that I'm doing here. We want to just kind of block in the shape of the gun where the thumb would end. We're not actually going to see the thumb because it's going to be hidden by the gun. And don't worry, I'm not drawing off screen here. This is actually the bottom of my page. Just kind of drawing it down to here. Not going to bother with the legs today because most of Deadpool's interesting features are definitely the torso, and the reference picture that I've seen for the official kind of Fortnite skin only goes as far down as well. There's a bit of padding on the back of the hand there. Okay, and now there's just like a strap around his bicep, so just quickly add that in. And now we're going to add the black part of the shoulder pad. And there's a few interesting patterns here, just kind of swings up over the shoulder twice like that, little lines there. There's a little notch in the neck strap there actually. And speaking of straps, we'll just quickly draw this one in here. I'm just going to loop it around the side of his pectoral muscle there. Let's actually just make sure that's properly etched in there. There's another one of those black straps with the shuriken shapes in it. And now we'll get in those abs. So I like to draw 3 lines that just kind of bump in and out, going down the very center of the torso. And then I feed out from the bumps that go in to form these kind of abdominal shapes like that. Fairly simple on the face of it, but actually quite difficult to get right. But try and follow the pattern that I have, and then you can just kind of like play around with it and make sure the muscles all kind of meet each other. That's the most important thing. You don't want to leave huge gaps there. Just adding in a shoulder pad here. No need for too much detail on that because it's a bit further away from our view. It's turned away. Now for this arm, we're kind of doing the same thing as we did with the other arm. So the muscles bulge out, but it folds in a little bit at the wrist and where the forearm meets the biceps. A little bit of a cuff around the wrist here. Okay, so this hand, this is probably the hardest part of the drawing. But if you made it this far, well, most of the way there now, we're past halfway. So you may as well finish it at this point. So this gun, I like to just draw in some really, really basic shapes. Just wrap the very fingertips. See how I'm only drawing the fingertips here, resting on the handle of the gun. That's all we need. We just need those 3 fingertips. I'm just going to correct the angle of this gun, actually. I'm not too happy about the angle at which I drew that at. Okay, so a few details from the inside of the gun. I'm just kind of quickly etching these in just to kind of give you a guide for the overall shape of the gun. But if you want a perfect guide, the reference picture, I will include a link to it in the description, so you can have a look at it to actually work from that if you want. But I like to just kind of block in shapes like this, lots of little squares for drawing guns, because it is a mechanical object. And the trigger is quite annoying. I like to draw a little circle here for the finger, that's the index finger, and then draw the actual loop that guards the trigger around it. So just for the rest of the details of the gun here, there's lots of little folding patterns, quite hard to come across in a sketch, but it'll definitely come across in the final inked drawing that I'm going to show you guys at the end of the video. But don't skip ahead just yet, there's plenty to see here. Okay, so just adding in a few more of these little folds and details in the metal. Better make that look a bit more solid, it looked like that wasn't really there for a moment. And there's a small little hook at the back of the gun there. Okay, so now for the emblem on the belt, nice and simple, line down the middle, there's a ring around the perimeter of it, and then we just get a couple of white eyes in the middle. It ends up looking a bit like his face. So now we'll move on to his little supply satchels, just kind of sitting on his belt here. There's a few actual little buttons there on the belts as well. He's got a supply satchel on each side of his belt, and honestly, if you're going to be going into battle, well, you better have some supplies on you. I mean, what are you thinking if you don't? You'd be a madman. So he's actually wearing 2 belts because that seems to be a requirement for like every skin in this game, and one sitting underneath the other. He's got a couple of buckles on there, just adding a little bit of a fly for his zipper, because come on, if Deadpool's going to pee, you know, if any superhero is going to pee, it's going to be Deadpool, right? So now we've got another gun sat in a holster here, so I'm just going to draw in some basic shapes for the holster, and I can iron those out when I ink it. And now for the gun, sitting face down in this. The actual muzzle of the gun is inside the holster, so we've got to do this tricky thing where we draw the top of the gun just kind of coming out the top there, and the handle pointing away from the viewer. And we get a bit of that foreshortening stuff that I've talked about in previous videos, where things look really small because they're coming away from the viewer, so you don't see the complete image. Just adding a few more details here to the padding that kind of lets the holster sit in place. I'm just going to do the same for the other side over here, because it's actually got a 4th gun sitting over here. Mercifully, you don't have to draw too much for this one, because again, it's on the other side of his body that we can't see too well. Better refine a few of these lines, not too satisfied with how those look just there. There's another little supply patch there, and let's not forget his trademark katanas. Deadpool's pretty much his main weapon. I mean, his guns, let's face it, his guns do a lot of work, but he wouldn't be Deadpool without his swords as well. This guy's a badass. He doesn't mess around. Just add a bit of texture to those swords there, the handles of the swords. This one, if you just draw a straight line down through his torso, that is more or less where the sheath for that sword will sit. So don't forget that little detail, or it's going to just look like he's got a couple of sticks sticking up from his shoulders. So yeah, I'd say our sketch of Deadpool at this point is pretty much done, guys. So I don't know about you, I'm going to get my inking tools out and go over this and finalize it. You should do the same, and I will see you in just a moment. So how'd you do? I bet you absolutely smashed that. Leave a comment letting me know what you'd like me to draw next time. Don't forget that you can now also join my Draw Cartoons Discord channel, link in the description below by the way, to share your artwork, get some feedback, and talk to the growing community. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more great tutorials just like this one. Until next time.